creditor. But before we do that, I just wanted to, first of all, welcome you, tell your friends to get on and listen, enjoy this moment. It's going to be very special. Let me tell you a little bit about Neshama. I mean, it could take hours, but I'm going to condense it so that you get to be with her. So, and again, this is someone I've spent some time with, and she is a magnificent human being, inside and out. She's performed and taught in cities around the world. She's been nominated 6 times plus for Grammy Awards and a winner of a 4-time nominee in the Independent Music Awards for her most current release, Believe. She's sold over 1 million records, making her one of today's best-selling Jewish artists in the world. She began training as a singer and an actress at the age of 5. As a teenager, she performed alongside her father, the late Shlomo Carlebach, who we'll get to hear a little bit more in a moment. And today, she lives in New York with her husband, Rabbi Menachem Creditor, and their 5 beautiful children. So I want to welcome onto the show, everybody, a round of applause for Neshama Carlebach.
Oh,
hi, Neshama. It's wonderful to have you. Thank you so much for being on the show tonight.
I adore you.
And I adore you. You are my peace.
You are my peace. You are my peace, for sure.
All right, so let's tell everybody how we came up with the idea that we became each other's peace.
So when we met, you said to me, I loved your father. What a piece. Meaning P-I-E-C-E. And I laughed. I think I laughed for an hour. What a piece.
What a piece.
Which, of course, I agreed with. And then I started calling you peace, and then you were calling me, oh, my peace. It became this joke. And then I don't know if it was me or you, probably both of us, we started changing it from P-I-E-C-E to P-E-A-C-E.
That's right.
Which is perfect for us.
That's right.
And our sisterhood. And the love and support that I feel very, very blessed that I've been able to be a part of your heart and in your world.
And I as well about yours.
Thank you.
What a gift.
You've given me so much in my life. I just wish that we lived close enough to not see each other in the lockdown.
I know.
I know, right?
It's a crazy, crazy time. Neshama, tell everyone out there listening tonight, tell us a little bit about your childhood and what it was like growing up and where and dad and mom.
Oh, well, that's a very long conversation.
I know. Try to condense a little bit.
All right. There is nothing normal about me or my life. And every time I try to make myself sound normal, I get farther and farther from the integrity of my own truth. So I'll just say that I had a very interesting childhood. I actually, in this moment in my life, as I'm a mom and a wife, my husband is here. I'm like a little intimidated because he's just sitting here and just saying it. But my life at this moment with, even in the pandemic of lunches and dinners and, waking up and going to sleep and doing the fun ritualized things that we've come to do with our children is more of a natural, normal kind of life than I ever had. And I'm still figuring out sort of where I fit in the spectrum of all the weirdness that I witnessed growing up. I've been saying recently, like, I grew up in a cult in a certain way. I really did. I love my father more than anything in the world, and it's complicated, and time with him was complicated. I was not protected. I wasn't cared for from a very early age. Time with my mother was wonderful, but I missed my father all the time and was lonely. And I think it's a very... Anyway, I'm running off. There's no way
to... No, because when you speak, the questions pop up for me. So where were you born?
I was born in New York.
Mm-hmm. But then you went to Israel, right?
No. No. So my father had a shul in New York, and he had a home in Israel, which I should say just this week was ripped down.
Wow.
Because about a year ago, the whole place was burned. The whole community was burned by an arsonist. Mm-hmm. So our entire community in Israel burned to the ground. which is something that my whole family is still reeling from. And just this week, the remnants of my home were burned down. And my sister went and took pictures, and I've been actually feeling very emotional. So the most permanent of spaces for me was actually the place that I did not live, which I think is probably very telling about my about my childhood.
Right, about how much you moved around. So Nishama, what kind of influences did Dad have on you? I mean, did you sing with him? Did you work with him?
I did sing with him, as you know. I worked with him. It wasn't work for me. I just wanted to be connected to him, so I tried, just like every, child that wants to please their family. I always knew that I wanted to be on stage in some way, but never did I didn't sing with my father to forward any kind of career choice. I just sang with him because I loved him. And when he passed away, it became obvious that I had to work because my family needed the help. My father had a year of shows booked, and they were looking for deposits back. And so here I had just turned 20 years old. I didn't know where the money was coming from. He had been partially supporting my family. I didn't know what to do. So I offered to do the shows really without thinking. And I still don't really know why I chose to take his shows, except I had so many feelings at the same time and was so desperate for the world not to forget him. So I took his shows, and that's when this Jewish world music thing became my life. And I'm still figuring out what I want to be when I grow up,
Good,
because I
good.
think
That'll keep you young.
that's right. Well, I think I just started in my 40s, just now, starting to really be aware enough and safe enough within my own skin to really explore what it is that I want to be.
Wonderful.
But yes,
I think that's the best. You had mentioned to me that you had written something after your father's death. Do you think that you could sing that for us?
sure. I'd be honored to sing it for you. You have to
Yeah,
mute
sing
those,
for me.
sweetheart, okay?
You can
Because
just sing it for me.
the track that I have was actually created by David Morgan, who was my producer and really companion in this work for more than 15 years. And this song was created with David and with Noah Solomon, who is really like a brother to me, one of my first friends growing up on the Moshav in Israel, actually. And this song, Before You Go, this was the second time in my career that I wrote something. David and Noah were like, "You're a songwriter." And I said, "What are you talking about? I'm nothing." And so this is what came out. And I think that it's beautiful. This is such a time of sorrow for so many people. There's so much loss, so much sadness. It's never okay to say goodbye, but maybe the song will be meaningful. Late at night, the dark is brighter than the silent moon. The empty hole that is my soul only grows, and every day I cry and pray for peace and bliss within. And I long so much for the time way back when your smile was all it took to set my spirit free. I saw the heavens in your eyes, bittersweet inside of me. Before you go, please bless my soul. tears for a life without your eyes. Before you go, I bless your soul. And your smile was all it took to set my spirit free. I saw the heavens in your eyes, it's bittersweet inside of me. Before you go, please bless my soul. Before you go, I bless your soul. Before you go.
It's beautiful. It's really beautiful, and it is truly from your soul. I think of your name all the time, and I mean, mom and dad gave you the name that fits who you are. You're a neshama, a beautiful soul. Thank you for that. That was gorgeous.
Love you.
Very touching. I love you. Can you take me now through, okay, so you grow up and dad is a traveling charismatic piece all over the world. And
You are
has
the peace.
he's the piece, and he's loved, and he's got his followers. And he came down to Miami, by the way, one time when I was maybe out of school for a couple of years, and I came into the sanctuary, and there was this guy with his guitar jumping up and down and up and down on the bima, and I thought, wow, that is cool. Who is that? He just jumped through the entire song. He
Yeah.
had he gave us, um, I know there's all kinds of controversy, but he gave us magnificent music that truly was written from his very soul. Because whenever you watched him perform or sing, you knew where it was coming from and no place else. So there's no doubting his gift.
I agree. And
Yeah,
you know what
really
I
beautiful.
love about, I'll share this, what I love about my father's own acknowledgement, because he swore he was not a musician. He learned to play guitar from a woman in the subway one day who swore that, oh, you could play any song ever written if you know these three chords.
Right.
And he always said he only knew three chords. He was positive and would say over and over in print and interviews that these are songs that existed in the wind. These were songs that existed in the air, and he was blessed to pluck them out and to share them. He never walked through the world with a sense of ownership. He never walked through the world with like, look at me, it was never about that for him. It was
No.
about bringing love and light, and even in this conversation about the complexities of who he was, his humility and the depth of his songwriting that really was beyond him, and he loved that it was beyond him, is still, it's astounding to me. And I love that very much about him
Yes.
and about his songs.
I think that some of the first Jewish music I ever learned was written by your father, like his Ein Kelohenu and so many others. I mean, just, and the whole world is waiting to sing a song of Shabbat. I mean, so many beautiful songs.
Do you know where he
Uh,
wrote that one, by the way? The Song of Shabbos? He
yeah.
wrote that at his father's funeral
Oh
when
my
his
gosh.
father passed away in the world. And I tell this,
Incredible.
I mean, when, not that I mean, it's going to be a long time before there's going to be more live performance, but I tell this story often that at my father's funeral, see that? My father's funeral in Yerushalayim, my father said, my grandfather, he said, he didn't leave me diamonds, he didn't leave me real estate, my family had lost everything. In the Holocaust, he said, but my father left me Shabbos. That was the song that
Wow.
he wrote. And it was probably one of the first funerals of all time that had everyone jumping and singing and on top of their lungs, and how glorious I say that no matter what it is, my father's legacy is Shabbos. That's one of my favorites.
You are your father's legacy. You have so much of him in you, and you brought him so much light. I can hear it when you sing together with him on many of the old recordings with your pretty young voice, singing with your father. What a tribute. It doesn't get much better than that. Tell me a little bit about what you've been doing these days. I'm skipping a whole bunch of years.
Good, thank you.
Yeah, I planned it that way.
Grateful. I know, I
One
know.
we know
Please
the
skip.
other.
Skip
Right.
ahead. Tell me how
Exactly.
this moment turns out.
Tell me some interesting stuff now.
Interesting stuff. So, in the middle of this pandemic, which has been unbelievable, and just a lot of transition in my own work, our new recording, Believe, was nominated 4 times for Independent Music Awards, which is so glorious. And we won, which is like, what? I
Wow.
felt it was overwhelming, and it was right at the beginning of the pandemic, in the lockdown, and the shock and in the sorrow. I felt almost guilty receiving such glorious news, but it really did lift my spirit. And the song Believe that won is our title track, and I'm wearing it. We have a jewelry line. I wear Believe around my neck. I don't
Yes,
stop. There it is. It's on the side.
so people can go online and also see your jewelry line.
We can, and we have T-shirts, and we were just starting to like tour in earnest. So it was, all of our work was all set to share the
I
concept
know.
of the word of believing. But it's an incredible feeling for me to know that this song was so embraced. The words are just, it's about believing in something that you can't see. It's about
Can you sing
holding
it for us?
on. Totally,
All
totally.
right.
To sing it
And
for
then we'll
you.
bring on the man,
We can bring on the
the
man.
main man.
But I'll tell you this because I know that this will resonate with you, that one of
Yes.
the lines I close my eyes so I can see all that can be.
Mm.
Because sometimes when we open our eyes, we don't see what we want to see, and there's so much sadness and disappointment. And sometimes the greatest way that we can believe is really just holding on to what it is that we know can be. And that's our goal, that's our prayer, that's our hope for this time and for always.
Amen.
There's a lot of love in this song. I'm sending it out to you.
Good.
And to Beth Styles and
Yes.
Jackie Cantor.
So just quickly tell us who's Beth Styles and
So Beth Styles is the writer of this music and the producer on my record. Jackie Tepper
okay,
is my business partner and co-collaborator, and the three of us created this song together. And
wonderful.
very,
I
very.
knew, but I don't think everyone else knows, so I
No,
know.
no, no, I'm ready.
Okay, I'm cool.
Bethy has been tuning into a lot of my stuff. So if you're there watching tonight, we just thank you,
Hi, Beth, if you're there.
Beth, if you're there, and Jackie. I know you're busy, but whenever you see this, we love you very much. Okay, this believe you got to mute.
Okay.
Okay. Let us light these lights for the world tonight. Let our hearts unite in the light, in the light. There is a spark in every soul, awakening, and I believe that source is love. I believe. Don't give up on everything you've dreamed. It's closer than it seems. Who among us hasn't hoped or prayed that there would come a day, and that day will make love light up the sky, and that day we'll see heaven in each other's eyes. I believe, I believe, I believe, I believe. there can be. We will rise. I do believe. I do believe. So don't give up on everything you've dreamed. It's closer than it seems. Who among us hasn't hoped or believed that there would come a day, and that day will make love light up the sky, and that day we'll see heaven in each other's eyes. I believe, I believe, I believe, I believe. That day will make love light up the sky. That day we'll see heaven in each other's eyes. Do you see? Believe. I believe. I believe. Let us light these lights for the world tonight. Let our hearts unite in the light, 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 in the light. I believe. I love you, my peace.
That's
you're
gorgeous. Well, I got a little jealous when we had to add another piece.
Sorry.
I started to say I got a little jealous when I realized we had to add another piece to our piece, making us pieces. But this
No,
is one great piece that we added. So
piece.
I'd love to introduce our very next guest, your husband, and just by saying a few words about him quickly. Menachem Creditor is the Pearl and Ira Mayer Scholar in Residence at UJA Federation, New York, founder of Rabbis Against Gun Violence, and an author whose work has appeared in the Times of Israel, Huffington Post, the Jewish Week, the Jewish Daily Forward, the Wall Street Journal. He sits on many commissions. He has worked at the Jewish Theological Seminary. He is a frequent speaker at synagogues and campuses. As his wife entertains, he speaks throughout the country. He was named by Newsweek as one of the 50 most influential rabbis in America. Creditor served as he served as the rabbi of congregation. I think it's pronounced Netivot Shalom.
Good job. Good job.
Good, in Berkeley until 2018 when this unbelievable disturbance came into his life, where he had to move to New York to marry his bride Neshama. Come on, Menachem.
Damn. This disturbance.
I've never.
I've been called a lot of things.
Hi, Michelle. I gotta say, I've been told in moments that I can be a little bit disturbed, but this is not why.
Yes, no, I'm sure. She's your peace. Peace.
She is definitely my.
She is, and I'm so happy for the two of you. Menachem, tell us a little bit about your story from your childhood and
Sure.
how you grew up.
I feel like starting, remember Steve Martin's The Jerk? Well, I was born a child of sharecroppers.
Right, right, exactly.
I was born in Paterson, New Jersey. My father was finishing his studies to become a rabbi at JTS, and so I ended up joining the family business, but for a long time sort of tracked his rabbinate and my mother's work as a social worker. And we ended up living in New York for a long time. I chose JTS as my undergrad school so I could be close to home. They ended up moving to Richmond, Virginia, where now they live for 30 years. And so for me, the childhood that I would describe is deeply involved and much more conventional than Neshama's. And with a rabbi father, I knew I didn't want to do this work, and ended up finding it very compelling when a Jewish a cappella group called Pismon visited my shul when I was 15 and lit my heart on fire. So that has been the defining part of my Jewish expression. In as much as I do it as a rabbi, the music is why I do it the way I do it.
Wow. Menachem, I was, I guess it was a few years ago. I think it was maybe even before I met in person with Neshama, but I was like going through on my computer and listening to different groups, and I came across you sitting with a bunch of young people in a circle, and I thought to myself, God, that guy, he's so California, and then when I realized that the two of you were together, I said, this is such a perfect blend, and the song that I think that the very first song I learned from you is Olam Chesed Yibaneh.
Yeah.
And I've sung it even at my wonderful synagogue, Temple Beth. Do you want to stop for a second and sing it?
Sure, we'd love to.
We'd love to hear it.
Do you know how he created that one? Do you know the story?
Please.
Well, our eldest, my daughter Ariel, was born in the months following 9/11. And I was a senior rabbinical student at JTS in New York, and walking up and down Broadway, right as she was born, knowing that I really wanted to sing a song for her during her Simchat Bad, and nothing was coming out. I wanted to write something special just for her, and she's on my chest as I'm walking up and down, and suddenly this song sort of just popped into my mouth, just popped into my heart, and I started singing it without even having really studied the words, because I believed that even though I was scared about the world she was inheriting, I felt ever more, since the moment she was born, our obligation to make sure that the world that our children see us building is one pervaded by love.
Amen.
So, glad to share it, and honored that you sing with your community.
Thank you.
All right, here we go. And everybody at home, wherever you are, sing loud. We'll hear you through the mute buttons. We'll hear you anyway. Then God will build this world from love.
Little trick chord there. Oh, that was beautiful. That chord, man. I knew exactly what that chord was. Um, um, I remember when I was last in New York, Neshama, we talked about my coming to New York one of these days and sitting down and writing something with you and Menachem together. And I don't want to let that not happen. That's going to happen.
It'd be beautiful.
In
We'd love
health.
it.
I just want to come spend an afternoon in your home and we'll just allow our souls to connect.
Amen.
Ready.
That would be so beautiful. Menachem, so tell us a little bit more about your life. So you went out to California, yes?
I did. I started in Boston for 5 years as an assistant rabbi in Sharon. And while there, I started a group called Keshet Rabbis to increase LGBTQ inclusion in the conservative movement and also fighting for marriage equality in Massachusetts. And one of the things that I realized was that my Jewish commitment led me to express my voice in the larger sphere as well. And so the pulpit ended up being part of the way that I Jewed, part of the way that I rabbied. But rabbifying for me, it's another word that we love, rabbifying for me demanded expanding my work beyond. And so going to Berkeley, California felt like I was going to be surrounded by people who had a kindred commitment to building the world Jewishly and in partnership with others.
And that's exactly what I felt when I went on that time and watched you. And you were just sitting in a room with a bunch of young people and you were singing Olam Chesed Yibaneh. And I only had to hear it one time to know that that was a song of the soul. So it's one of those Jewish gems that will live long beyond all of us. It's just going to keep living. So Menachem, tell me how you got into all of these. For instance, it said in your work that you have done an awful lot with gun violence. Tell us a little bit about that.
Well, when I was in Berkeley for a short period of time, I made friends with a bunch of fellow clergy from different traditions, and a dear friend now was a new friend then, Pastor Michael McBride, and he invited me right in the aftermath of Sandy Hook to be part of an interfaith delegation to the White House. And when I looked at the list, it was a very powerful experience recognizing that I was the only Jew on this very large coalition going in. And I said, Michael, can we have a few more rabbis, cantors? Can we have some Jewish leaders come and be part of this? He said, oh, you can get Jews? And I said, of course. Of course, we care. We want to be part of this. But then I had this incredibly humbling experience, besides the terror and the fear that really pervades all of our hearts with 90 gun violence deaths a day in America. I came to realize I was shocked at Newtown, but we have 3 Newtowns a day, every day in America. And more than that, as if there's more than that, but more than that, when I got to the White House, there were 90 religious leaders there. 81 of us were black, and 9 of us were white, and all of the white clergy members were rabbis.
Wow.
And I recognized how little I knew about something that made me cry. And I sat there recognizing a profound teaching when one facilitator had us sitting in different groups. All the rabbis were spread out. And the facilitator asked us to share the gun violence death that affected us most. Now, my father had one that he was ravaged to share. But the other rabbis said, well, I don't have one. And all of the pastors had the exact opposite response. And they said, you want me to choose one? And so my commitment then was to organize rabbis and other Jewish leaders around the country, creating Rabbis Against Gun Violence and releasing in the end 3 books that became part of a major anthology of more than 100 Jewish voices that have been distributed to Congress and to thought leaders. And I believe that while we haven't ended the problem at all, one of the great accomplishments that all of these Jewish leaders have had is to break the stigma of fighting gun violence as if it's someone else's problem. This is before Pittsburgh, before Poe. This is to recognize that if I don't care about my neighbor as much as I care about, my co-religionist, as it were, I'm not following Torah at all, let alone treating myself with integrity.
Yes, it's wonderful. And at our synagogue in Miami, at Temple Beth, Rabbi Greengrass is very, very vigilant and has done a tremendous amount of work we've had speakers on gun violence. We've been very involved. So
Thank God. Thank God.
yes, we're all trying to do what little we can, and of course we also develop as close a relationship as we can with one of our neighboring Baptist communities. So it's it's a scary time with the virus, but we have other things as well that we should be frightened, but they become like the norm. It's the norm to see someone shot.
Well, I'll say that of the things that I've learned from Dr. King and Rabbi Heschel, because they both said it really similarly, is that what keeps us human is the ability to remain surprised, to not become accustomed to things, even though I'm totally with you, right? To remain not numb, to remain completely raw and reactive to these things, because they aren't normal and they should never be normal. The short way that I say it is that the most horrific thing you can ever see is a bulletproof backpack for sale on Amazon. When that makes no sense, right, you're human. When you say, oh, I'll get one of those, that's when you've given in. Even if we need to take all the precautions, there should be nothing acceptable about that sentence.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Do you think that you could share with us something else that you've written or would love to sing for us?
Sure.
Get us out of that gun violence feeling that
Yeah.
it's hard.
Yeah, I'll share it. We haven't done this one together yet, so maybe I'll just
No, you'll just do
maybe
it.
I'll just do this one.
I'm enjoying. Every time I have the gift of watching him work.
Yes, it's just a sweet, sweet voice.
Oh, thanks.
And you're very, very musical. Do you come from a musical family as well, Menachem?
I do. Not, there are gradations of musical families, and I'm sitting next to one of my heroes in that way.
Right.
No,
Oh, come on.
you can say no, but
Eh.
we met because Neshama came and performed at my shul in Berkeley, and
so that's
and our
how you
friendship
met.
our friendship began because we had a mutual friend who helped the concert happen, and we just stayed in touch over the years. Just not seeing each other for 8 years, but the music is what brought us together too.
8 years.
Yeah.
How incredible. How beautiful is that?
Incredible.
Talk about when it's meant to be.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, so this is a song actually that our daughter and I wrote together just last week, and I'll share just very quickly that the 3 verses that go into it are Mi anochi kielech. When Moses is called by God, he says, "Who am I to do this? Mi anochi." And then when Jonah says, "No, I don't want this job either," Jonah and the big fish, in the belly of the whale, when he comes to a deeper awareness of his relationship with God and obligations to his fellow person, he says, "Umi yodea im yashuv." Who knows? Maybe God will come back. And the final verse is from the book of Esther, where when she's afraid to do what she's called to do, her uncle Mordechai says to her, "Umi yodea im la'et kazot higat." Who knows? Maybe it's specifically for this moment that you arrived. And so I feel both in response to the heaviness of the gun violence conversation, but also in general, we might feel isolated, but there's so much we need to be doing and have the power to do. So I offer this. Hopefully I'll remember the chords. It's only a week old.
It's okay. I won't know.
No, you'll know, trust me. Mi anochi ki elech, Mi anochi ki elech, Mi yodea im yashuv, Mi yodea im yashuv, Mi מי יודע אם לעת כזאת הגעת, הגעת. מי אנוכי כי אלך, כי אלך. מי אנוכי כי אלך, כי אלך. מי יודע אם ישוב, מי יודע אם ישוב. מי יודע אם לעת כזאת הגעת, 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 הגעת.
Beautiful. You know, you have a very specific, you have your own specific sound. You when you write music, you create sort of like a mantra with the repetition. It's not repetition that gets boring. It's a kind of a repetition that sort of moves you to another place, and it's very comforting and very beautiful.
Thanks.
That's what
really
I felt. Yes, and Neshama's music as well. But all all from the soul makes it so beautiful. So guys, all right. So here we are in the middle of this pandemic. What's going on in your lives? How are you dealing?
Oh my God.
Which hour, which day are you asking?
You have 5 kids living with you. I mean, what's going on?
Yeah.
Yeah.
We look at each other, we're like, who are these people?
Yeah, quarantine everyone.
You know, I think that every one of us, both the people we speak with and us as individuals, I think minute to minute, we should check in with our own hearts and with the people who we're with. Take space as much as we can. It's not an easy time, and I think it's testimony to how hard the teachers in our children's lives work, and the kind of work that we're trying to do in the world also, to be present for others, to remind us how deeply connected we are. I don't know that we're okay all the time, but speaking personally, I know that I'm more okay when I can see the connection with someone else, either online or when we manage to find a second to breathe. I would never answer for Neshama, but for me, even in the midst of all this, I'm feeling so deeply connected with so many people.
That's beautiful. How about you, Neshama? How are you good? How is this whole virus affecting you emotionally? I know physically what's going on. You're not going anywhere.
Right. Well, I think we're up and down 100 times a day at least.
Yeah.
And absolutely what Menachem said, when we have the opportunity to connect online, even though it's very strange, it's been very miraculous to just feel the energy. But I must tell you, and I'm sure you have the same experience, I speak about this a lot, that, you know, I do the work that I do because I want to connect with people. And then in the Zoom situation, I'm looking at myself while I'm singing, and it's really disconcerting. And I find that maybe there's a reason that I need to be looking more deeply at myself. Maybe this is a moment of self-awareness and self-reflection and awakening, even through the sorrow. I'll tell you something beautiful that Menachem said, because he's still my rabbi. Sorry. You are, sorry. He's like, I'm not your rabbi.
That's a natural.
No, it's fine. No, he actually is. So, I was in the kitchen. You know, we're all in the kitchen, and there's so many people here. And his daughter Raya, our daughter. I'm very bad with pronouns. Our daughter, Raya, was having a hard day, and she said to Menachem, "I don't know what day it is. I don't know what day it is." And Menachem said, "Love, it's today. It's today." And she cried. And I was like blown away, because the truth is I don't remember all the time. I don't know if you have this experience. I don't know what's the date, what's the day of the week, what time is it?
I know.
Shabbos yesterday, is Shabbos tomorrow. I don't remember. because there's so much monotony in our days. But yet, if you can focus on the gratitude of the present and somehow find one thing to make you connect to living in the moment, you're okay.
That's
Somehow.
that's my journey. That's where I'm at, trying to learn to love and live in the moment, because that's
Amen.
all we have, like you said.
Amen.
Amen. So, you two beautiful people, before I let you go, is there anything that you feel comfortable singing together again? Is there anything that you often sing together or
We
have
spend
sung?
a lot of stuff together.
We do. We
It's a
could.
thing. It's
All right,
something.
Josh, would you choose something that you could sing for us
Yeah, it
before we
sounds.
bid you farewell?
Indeed.
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 Okay.
All right. This is a nice one. We like this one. It has a
Good.
nice story. You want to tell?
I could tell.
You should tell.
We could both tell. So Menachem has a lot of recordings that he shared with me when, when he was my rabbi, and and this one, his Yedid Nefesh. Well, you tell. I don't want to speak for you. Where were you when you created it?
So I was recording this album in the studio, and Yedid Nefesh, it has always been this gorgeous poem for me. I mean, I'm sure for you, for many, many people. The acronym of God's name as the beloved, Mahera, Huv, please, fast, my love, come, the time is now. And I sang my own harmony on the recording. And it was a very emotional experience because I wanted to share that exquisite depth with a harmony from someone else's voice. I wanted to feel that love in this way. And so I think the song came out nicely, but the experience of recording it was hard. And then something pretty miraculous happened almost 2 years ago.
Yeah, when the disturbance.
Now we're going to call him disturbing.
I know, right? Oh my god. No, it's very
Getting
funny.
worse.
So when we got married, we had a moment where we were going to offer each other some words, and I decided that I wanted to sing this song to Menachem, his Yedid Nefesh, because he was mine. And Beth Styles helped me to arrange it, and as a surprise under our chuppah, I sang it to Menachem.
How
And it was
beautiful.
the first time and literally the only time that I ever had a secret, which made me feel like so strange.
But it was the best. It was the
It
best
was
secret
so-
ever. I was blown away. It was so gorgeous. So okay, so we'll
So,
sing.
so we
we'll
offer
share
it now,
one.
but I want to say this also that for all the people out there who are struggling in relationships, and there's always a second chance. There's always another chance for you in relationship with someone else, in relationship with yourself, and it's I'm blown away always that we exist, that we found each other, that we knew each other for over like for nearly a decade without knowing that this is what we could be. Growing and changing enough to finally embrace a healthy, awesome relationship. And so everyone out there, just keep the faith and keep believing and keep holding on to each other. And even in this moment, please find reasons to love maybe a little bit more than you think you're capable of, even more than you feel like you have the bandwidth for. Right?
I think I did all right here. Listen to her.
You both did. You both
We're
did.
all right. We're disturbed.
All right, so
Okay,
this
go.
is,
I'm gonna get over it now.
You're gonna take first, yeah.
No, you.
No, you.
No.
All right. did not first.
Beautiful. Wow. What a way to leave us. I'm just so touched and so appreciative that with all that's going on right now, that you found time to come onto our show. And we are so grateful, Menachem Creditor and my beautiful piece, Neshama Karlbach. Thank you both so much for being with us, sharing your warmth, your talent, your music, and save a space for me. I know there's 5 kids in that house, but you certainly could put me. You could put me where where you would, like in a little kennel. I'll bring a kennel. And I'll come out. I'll come out to write, and then you can stick me back in the kennel.
Oh, Michelle.
But really, as
Can't wait.
soon as things are healthy, I would love to come and spend a day and just write with you.
We love you.
Please come.
I love you.
Anytime. We love you. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, everybody, and Temple Beth Am. I hope that you're listening, and everyone out there on Facebook listening. You can find their music probably on everything from Oi Songs to CD Baby. I don't know. You just put in the name and you'll find their music. Download their beautiful melodies, and may you stay healthy and strong.
Amen.
Have a wonderful evening. Erev Tov.
Erev Tov.